Premiership Power Rankings for round number 19. If you didn't notice, in round 19 it was all the home teams that had wins. So, yeah, that kind of affects the way we do the power rankings because we're giving teams more bonus, I guess, for away wins. But, yeah, we didn't see any of those. So, yeah, there's a bit of moving, a bit of shaking, and some steady as she goes. And, yeah, we'll go through them. You guys can give me any thoughts on how correct or otherwise the rankings are. 13th is still Newcastle, same as last week, because they haven't won for about 9 games in a row. I know away to Quinns was never going to be an easy task, and they performed admirably in some aspects of the game, but they still lost. What was it, like 24-10? Yes, it's another loss to add to the list. These guys aren't faring much better, and actually on the table, I think these guys are the new bottom side, because Bath's 2 wins in a row have meant Worcester on the log are down to the bottom spot. They lost to London Irish. They've had 1 win in about their last 8 games, so it's been pretty hairy stuff. Getting a red card to Duhan didn't help, but yeah, not the happiest of hunting grounds for Worcester in recent times. Whereas these guys, Bath, they maybe benefit a little bit from some Bristol guys being off the field, but a win is a win, and you take that all the way to the bank. 2 wins in a row. How many times have we been able to say that this season for Bath? I think once, right? They did get 2 wins in a row, did they? They are 12th on the log, and I have got them 11th on recent form, ranking them as better than Worcester and Newcastle, although you kind of have to take that last one with a little bit of suspect nature because of the cards, but we don't calculate that in the power rankings. 10th is still, and these teams are all the same as last week, Northampton. Northampton are doing okay on the table. They are 8th, but they are doing pretty bad in my power rankings. They are not that much above Bath, which seems bizarre, but it's just 4 in a row lost compared to 2 in a row won for Bath. That's just a factor. They're not quite below Bath yet, but it could happen. Again, they looked all right in their game. If I had to pick a team between Northampton and Bath to win it right now, I'd still be back in Northampton. But yeah, 80-minute games, folks. Just keep getting beaten. And lastly, I think the bottom row is all the same as last week. It is the Bears. As I said, they had some cards against Bath. They had a 21-point lead, and they had a lead at the last few minutes, but just couldn't manage to see that game out, so they'll be disappointed. Just such an inconsistent season. It's like loss, win, loss is their last 4, so it's still been pretty slim pickings. Just when you think they're coming right, they don't do it. The next team I've got were on the bye last week. That was Wasps. Now, Wasps are kind of on a bit of a bad run of their own, but fingers crossed the bye week gives them a chance to reset because they were on a good run and they swapped that for a bad run. So, yeah, their spot of 9th in the log is pretty much married up to what they've got here in the power rankings. So we will see how they go next. I think prior to that they're on 2 losses. So, yeah, them along with these guys, goodness me. Now, this is a heck of a drop. I don't usually like when the power rankings drop by this many spots. I don't really have a way to cap it just yet. But I had Sale top row last week, I think 2nd, and now they're down. They shouldn't have kept their spot last week, but the teams who would have passed them didn't win or something like that. I remember the calculations was a bit funny. So Sale dropped in the back end, but didn't drop on the log because the other teams around them didn't do enough to get past them. So yeah, Sale were on a huge winning run, and it's come to a really abrupt end with 2 losses in a row now, so down 5 spots. I've got them 7th on the rankings and 7th on the... They're 7th on the table as well, so maybe that's kind of a fair reflection of where they are at. Gloucester I've got in 6th. They bounced back with a bit of a win. A home win over Northampton. Prior to that it was a loss. Prior to that was a bye. Prior to that was another loss. So their season looked to be maybe going a little bit off the rails. They're 6th on the table as well. So kind of similar. They're another team who needs to, well, if they're going to push for contention, they need to get some consistency. These guys, speaking of consistency, they're doing really well on the table. 3rd spot for the reigning champions, Quinns. And it seems a bit harsh to have them down in 5th. I should say there's not much between the teams 1 through 7. But yeah, for Quinns, 3 wins in a row. They are certainly making their way back. But prior to those 3 wins was like 3 losses in a row. So it kind of balances out. But we are certainly putting more weight on the recent results. So they're lifting their way up. They are not far behind at all. Behind London Irish, who haven't been beaten for several rounds now. They are up 1 spot from last week. They are 5th on the table. They flogged Worcester. So, yeah, that's a bit of a... I don't know if it's a statement because Worcester are down the wrong end, but they beat them by a lot, whereas a lot of teams were kind of only scraping by 7 points or less. So, yeah, is London Irish a side that's going to contend? This next few weeks will tell. Saracens I've got in 3rd. They beat Leicester, which is a bit of a statement because remember they lost the reverse fixture at the start of the season in a pretty close one. So the fact that they beat Leicester is certainly good news. They are 2nd on the table, so pretty much where I've got them. 1 spot difference from where I've got them on the power rankings. Win, bye, and loss are their last 3, so it's maybe what's keeping them out of the 2nd spot, which is filled by the Chiefs. Exeter, they have got, I think, 4 wins in a row. Now, the last time I think sides had 4 wins in a row and I put them up in the 2nd spot in the power rankings, it's been a bit cursed. I think Gloucester have maybe done it and the Sharks have done it, and then they've gone on a shocking run. So it could be that we see same from Exeter, but they'll be hoping to maintain this because they're in 4th on the table, which is a pretty important spot. But still, there's nobody who's quite at the level of the Tigers. Their winning run has come to an end away to Saracens, so there's no shame in that because it's a tough place to go. They made it a competitive game, but they are still looking the best of the teams in the Premiership thus far this season. So yes, there you go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the rankings. How correct or not do you think they are? A lot of the teams are fairly similar to their spots on the actual table. Harlequins have been a little bit punished for their prior to recent form being a bit bad. The Sharks have just dropped like a stone in 1 week, which I'm not a huge fan of. Northampton are a wee bit lower because they're on a losing run. Other teams are, as I said, a wee bit higher. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.